Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge. So this is something I probably should have done a bit closer to when I started doing content again, but I wanted to do a video today talking about the things that excite me about Elestrals, the things that really got me into going, I want to do content again for this game. And yeah, it is going to be a good old top 5 list, and not really, it's just going to be sequential order of 5 things that make me really excited. But we're going to talk about it. So number one is, this is kind of a dual reason. It's two things that intertwine together. It is a specific combination of the basis on Yu-Gi-Oh, but not really necessarily being based on Yu-Gi-Oh specifically. It is more not being based on MTG/Duel Masters. Plus, being a Western developed game. Let me tell you, duelists, I am really sick of having to wait 3 months after the cards come out to be able to play with them. It's really annoying. I really hate it. This is why I was able to get as excited for Buddy Fight as I did, because we were getting simultaneous releases, maybe 2 weeks delayed. And you will notice that my content really started to fall off, that continued to be the case. I tried to get into a bunch of Western games that come out in English first or simultaneous releases, but all of those are based on MTG or Duel Masters. They're all mana-based games, and I can have a decent amount of fun with mana-based games, but I can't get excited for them is a big problem with me. I do not really like the way those types of games flow. It's really difficult for me to get excited, for me to really have fun with them, to really get into them. They feel too constrictive. And the games that I really love the way that they flow refuse. I'm looking at you right now, Vanguard. I have a lot of problems with the way you are currently designed. However, I still get really excited for your gameplay, but you just refuse, despite 3 or 4 opportunities, to get to a simultaneous release, something that your company has done before. And Bandai is getting on the train with this, but all of their games are based on Duel Masters. They're all mana-based games. Even Digimon, which isn't really a mana-based game in the traditional sense, still has a lot of the Duel Masters feel. That while I like a lot of Duel Masters mechanics on paper, they are not things that fix the problem I tend to have with not really getting into the game flow of Duel Masters type games. So having a game that is Western developed, so I'm going to be able to play with the cards as they are being first explored, and is not based on Duel Masters or Magic, is the most important, one of the most important things for me for getting excited about a game. And we need more games like this. You can't just base all of your games on Magic. It's boring. It's incredibly boring. Cool, you like Magic. That's cool, man. Hey, the big 3 all play really differently from each other. There is a reason for that. You should maybe be exploring a bit more the ideas, the unique ideas and game flows that Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon have, but so many card game developers just refuse to do that, and it's really frustrating. So just that fact that it's Western developed, so I'm going to get access to the cards as they're being explored, and it's not an MTG or DM clone, is huge for me. This video is also going up on my old Bakugan channel to try and get some of them over here. And while Bakugan was Duel Masters based, it had a lot of the things that were cool about Bakugan had nothing to do with that Duel Masters element. And in fact, you could really, that was the least important part of that game's design. Easily the least important part of that game's design could easily be stripped out and replaced with something else. Didn't even need to be a traditional deck of trading cards, to be honest, because it's completely irrelevant to the most engaging part of that game. Number 2 is the Spirit deck. The Spirit deck is super interesting to me because as someone who vastly prefers the game flow and game speed of Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired games, games like Vanguard, games like Buddy Fight, etc., things that don't use a building permanent mana pool. Games like that. Something that I've run into time and time again is that it's really difficult to implement the freedom of deck building with like soft restrictions that Magic colors provide, which is one of Magic's biggest strengths as a card game, is that ability to technically put anything in, but you are going to be restricted and your deck is going to become less consistent the more colors that you put in. So you have a soft restriction on how much different stuff you can be putting in your deck. And Duel Masters games and any games with that system have a similar thing going on by nature of still needing the mana colors, as long as you don't do a Kaijudo and make every card in the mana pool be every color that has been put in any amount. Then it breaks really easily, and you easily make 3 to 4 color decks really, really easy to do. So the Spirit deck is super interesting to me because it is this idea that allows a non-mana based game to have that freedom of deck building but soft deck building restrictions. And like having 8 colors specifically, I feel is actually really important, because the amount of colors that you can comfortably fit into the Spirit deck is larger than you can really comfortably fit into a Magic deck or a Duel Masters deck or whatever. So you need a higher number of different colors so that the amount of the card pool that you are able to get comfortable access to doesn't really change. Basically how it goes right now, even with the Skittles math decks, like you cap at like 5 colors, which is a bit more than half of the color pool, which makes it about equivalent to a 3-color Magic deck, which is like exactly where you want to be. The only issue I have with the color system right now in Elestrals is that some of the colors don't really have the splashable stuff that really tempts you to go into them. And one of the colors has just lost its most tempting splash tool, Lavalith. It's gone down to 1. And Earth has been hurting that way. You do kind of need replacements to pull people towards these different colors so you have more meaningful decisions being made. Like the day when we have a really appealing splash cards from every color to the point where people really start going, okay, do I need that? Do I go for the Ass Rabbit? Ass Rabbit is something I don't really want to go away. Like I could see like a new version coming out that replaces it as worse stats, say the beta stats of 2-4. That would be fine, but I think a card like Ass Rabbit, especially a card that pulls you into these other colors, is really important by having these default splashes that you want to go into. It makes further splashes more taxing, and the more different splashes you want to go into, you start going, okay, maybe it's time to cut this really powerful generic tool. Is that worth it? And those sorts of deck building decisions are really, really cool to me. I like that sort of stuff a lot. It's the most appealing part about mana-based games to me, and seeing it in a game of this speed is really important to me, and it's super exciting to me to see how this system will evolve and to play around with it. And like it tests like this unique skill that you don't see in any other card game. It's super cool. I like it a lot. It turns like the color mixing aspect of MTG into okay, you're going to make your deck less consistent, into okay, to run more colors, you have to be real good. You have to be real good at managing. It is going to be on you as a player to be able to go into more colors. And that's super, super cool. It's sick. It's sick. I love it a lot. It's one of the most appealing parts of this game. It's so cool. So cool. I really like... I've seen some people suggest, oh, maybe we should be hard restricted to 3. And no, I never want to see that. The coolest part about the Spirit deck is that it allows this freedom of deck building, but soft deck building restrictions to exist in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed game, in a non-mana game. The way me and my friends used to refer to this speed of game was ungated. Ungated game. That is so key to the appeal of Elestrals to me, and I really don't want to see that any sort of hard restriction ever occur. The card design just needs to get better at pulling people into different colors so that they start having to make hard choices about what colors they want to be splashing into their decks. Number 3, cheap and accessible. Oh my god. Like, like the constant aggressive reprint policy, how often, like the printing of Altar of Stars in the tournament pack and the Daybreak starter decks at the same time. No card being more than $15, really utilizing collectors' vanity rarities the way they should be. The way they're used to be really appealing collector's pieces that take a lot of pressure off of the normal rarity cards to carry the value of a set is so key to keeping a game in an accessible spot. And there's so many good cards in the commons and the uncommon slots, and it's just sick. My only complaint in this regard is the starter deck exclusive runes, the Gorgon's Gaze, the poison tipped arrows, the resting on your laurels. That's less of a problem now. But I'm hopeful that in the future those will get more reprints, like normal reprints in a set, in a tournament pack, and that'll resolve that problem completely. Like, if you're able to find access singles, which will become a lot more easy when TCG Player opens up, the fact that you can build like a really good deck for like $50 is so sick. It's so sick, and like it's fine on the profit margins, it seems, because you have the full arts, you have the reverse sellers, you have the serialized sellers. Those are the big money makers that you are looking for, not so much the key playable pieces, and that's just huge to me. That's a really important thing to see, a team that understands how to utilize collectors' vanity rarities to keep their game accessible. It is a tool. It is not collector stuff is not the key selling point of a game. It is a tool to keep everything about playing the game cheap. And it's super good to see a team that seems to understand that. Argo was a new holo rare in the starter decks. Cybermel, Dense Fog was normal rare. Specteris, holo rare, instantly reprinted in Shattered Stars. All of this stuff, it's super sick. It gives me a lot of hope in this game's future. The online ranking stuff, like those rewards for the Divine Favor system, is something that has some flaws right now that I'm probably going to talk about in a later video. But it is something that I really appreciate. Like, one thing I really appreciate about it is that you do get Divine Favor for every round you play in, because what that means is that even if you're at a point where you can't get like top cut prizing in any given tournament, you still have this incentive to keep playing in the tournament, which is something that it's great. That's good. You want your players to want to continue playing your game as much as they can when they come out to play in a tournament, and like you don't like time of course, but like people leave when they want to, but like I want to be here to play the game, and I want to have this encouragement from the game's systems to continue playing the game. So this Divine Favor system that rewards you for just continuing to play a game or just getting wins, even in rounds when you're out of the running for top cut, is just very nice. Something I appreciate a lot in a card game. There are definitely flaws in the Divine Favor system. The biggest thing is that there really needs to be some sort of best finish limit so that people with like 3 or 4 locals don't have this huge outsized advantage over people with only 1 locals. But otherwise, it is a system that I enjoy a lot, and like having this prizing at the end of the season to work towards is just a really nice incentive when you don't have like a proper tournament circuit set up yet. It's all very cool. And leaderboards is just cool, man. It's just cool to have a leaderboard. It's just fun. It's just fun to have a leaderboard. And like the fact that even on the site, if you go to an LGS that runs events, they will have like a leaderboard, an ELO leaderboard that only pulls from games played at events at that store. That is super sick. That is super cool. There's a bunch of stuff with the Elestrals Play Network that I just think is super cool. The fact that they collect data on who goes first and second, this data that you would normally only really have access to in a digital client, is something that they are able to collect through IRL events, is super smart, super cool. Lots of really great stuff being done there that really makes me very happy. And the biggest thing, number 5, the biggest thing for me is just I look at the card design and the design space of this game, and I get excited, man. I want to see where this game's gonna go. It makes me want to talk about stuff. Like, there's tons of stuff about this game that I just want to talk about. I want to be there when new cards are being revealed, and I want to talk about their implications for future design, where design is going, because there's so much of this game's design that hasn't been explored before. It's a lot of untouched territory, new ideas that are going to cause a lot of stumbling because you can't draw on previous games as much. But it makes the game really exciting to analyze, really exciting to evaluate cards for, really exciting to see new stuff for, and that's really what really needs to be there to push me to make content. I need to be excited to talk about it. Like, I tried to do Vanguard content in the past. I tried to do Digimon content in the past. I could never get those going very far because I was never excited enough to talk about it. But this game makes me feel like I did in Buddy Fight, like I did in Bakugan. Those games were both exploring some stuff that hadn't really been done before. There's a lot of new concepts that hadn't been done by many games, at least games that had survived to that point. Bakugan especially had a lot of like very unique stuff going on that made cards really interesting to evaluate. And yeah, that's just what I need. That's what I need to encourage me to make content. I need to be excited to get on camera and talk about a card. I need to see a new card and go, oh, that's cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to be right about this or not, but let's see. Let's put our ideas out there. Let's try and evaluate this thing. Let's try and figure this out. It's just really cool. And you're seeing like new ideas explored in this game like every tournament, and people still just figuring stuff out, and it's just super exciting to be here. Super exciting to be talking about this game, to be participating in this community, to be going into tournaments, trying out decks, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. It's just super cool. Now, can we let me go above 40 cards? You should let me go above 40 cards. Please let me go above 40 cards. Please let me go above 40 cards. I want to be a sicko. 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 Goodbye. This is Hunter Surge signing off.